Retreat was a little bit slow. Simon Morant up on his rostrum. This is the moment they want, Skew.
Yeah, I was pleased to see Simon Morant let them go quickly, Mick, because when the starters hold them on the tapes, that's when you get the problem. Would you not agree with me?
I agree wholeheartedly. I firmly believe they should take one turn round, everybody turn in. Everybody should be ready at that stage because you've been milling around for a while, and off you go.
And here we go, Edmund up there right in the centre of your picture. That's the jockey cam, I think, of Jamie Goldstein. That's my son Thomas up there. Smarty's up there. That's Beau on the outside. But we are going to lose Spanish Main at the jockey cam and Art Prince here. All the jockeys have moved towards the outside, Richard, to look for the better ground.
And is that the plan that you'd have had, Mick?
I'd have been quite happy to go wherever I lined up and got a decent look at the first. Tom Doyle, who rode my horse, he's done the right thing. He's let the horse roll to the Melling Road, then sat. And you can see all these jockeys today have ridden with great credit, and they've ridden to try and get round, but unfortunately conditions just weren't in their favour.
Well, we couldn't see the fallers from that angle, so we're looking from the far side. There's blowing wind going over.
See the last fling make a bad mistake, he pecked quite badly.
Yes,
yeah.
typical first fence fall.
I was going to say exactly the same, Richard. They're just falls of, you know, you're running quickly to the fence. Here they are. This is now the jockeys just sort of finding out how the horses are coping with the conditions. Actually, I thought that...
That was Spanish Main.
That was Spanish Main there. We've got I've got down Hollybank Buck and Khaki Crazy falling there, but it did look as if Spanish Main...
Hollybank Buck was at the fourth. I just have to interrupt. All horses are fine. I must really stress that. It's been a depleted field. Beau up front on the far side, jumping like a stag.
Yeah, that's Hollybank Buck and Khaki Crazy.
Going there. And you can see one's got badly bogged there. Horse falling in front of him is the problem.
You can see the big ditch there, but all the horses, you know, just going in and popping on. There's Hollybank Buck. He's done what you said not to do, and he got in too short, Mick.
He's got in deep, and basically the momentum has just flipped him over.
But the jockeys have all, Richard, they've all got their horses up on the bridle. You know, this is what they're trying to do, just keep them nice and balanced.
It's interesting that Brian Crowley's gone right down the inside, hasn't he, on old General Wall?
Yeah, but Mick, you'd bear with me here, isn't it? You can spread out as much as you like, but if you've got a horse hanging with you left or leaning right, you've got to go where he will go. This is...
Exactly.
Feels like Gold goes here. He's been round a couple of times.
There goes Earth Mover in front of us. You can just see poor old Joe Tizard doing his best to try and hang on.
And he has come out backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, where the camera is based. He's right up the front, wasn't he? We're coming up to Beecher's, and we've got there, Listen Timmy on the inside. We haven't seen much of him, but most of the action on the outside. We've got Esprit de Cot right up there, Mick.
Yeah, he's really enjoying himself. Tom's had a great spin off him. Beau as well, I think it's, you know, he has pinged off that ground.
That was a real mother and father, wasn't it?
I think that was Melly Moss.
Was it? He was just out of the picture a little bit, wasn't he? Look at McCoy going well on Blowing Wind in those Peter Deal colours, the yellow hoops on the outside, yellow crossbars. Edmund up in front, Beau cantering. We'll see some interesting stuff with Beau a little later on.
Merry People alongside and the red on the inside. He's enjoying himself. He ran very well in the reds last year.
He certainly did. He's had several good runs. That looked like Mr. One that went there, I think, Mick, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah, well, your ride is in second now. Merry People is behind him. The outside is Beau. And in fact, it was the last fling that went there. Here we come to Beecher's now.
Carl going down the outside there, trying to look for where is a little bit less of a drop there, just on the outside. A very experienced national rider. And Beau, I was delighted with the way he took to these fences. He just nodded there, as you would expect a little bit, but now he's beginning to come across.
And look, Papillon just creeping into the action there. Let's have a look from the landing side, then. That was Paddy's Return that went over there loose. You can see how the jocks have to sit back here, get the ballast. Once the backsides come past the ears, you are in trouble. Well, that was one of Terry Neal's, just a strong tell, and it was rather an easy fall, wasn't it? Right, well, very shortly we're going to come into the Canal turn first time, and this is where we had a loose horse causing a lot of problems, and he wiped out a lot of horses, Claire. Right, well, let's go back on. It's this loose horse on the outside that causes all the trouble at the next fence. I think that's the Foynaven. Yes, that's all right. But watch this loose horse on the outside, because he runs across into the corner of it, and we will see it. There is a fall askew at the Foyneven, which is
I haven't got it down as a faller here, but merry people.
Yeah, there he is on the inside. Look,
now, but
in fact, it was an unseated rider.
Well, it's very hard to call that an unseated rider. Changing angle like that, you've got no chance of staying on.
Now, this is where the whole... We're back to Foyneven. There's... you can see he belted that, didn't he?
I mean, the deceleration for a jockey to stay on that is almost impossible, Mick.
But look how many good horses are going well here. Beau, Edmund. Now watch the horse on the right-hand corner of your picture. He's just gone out of the picture, but he will come in shortly, and this is what causes the whole trouble. He runs down the fence, the leaders get away okay, and then he runs right into the thick of the horses, knocks one sideways there. You can see almost a repetition of the Foyneven John Buckingham's year, stops 10 horses.
We have lost Jeddah there, Dark Stranger, Feels Like Gold, You're a Good and Melly Moss brought down, Village King brought down, and Moral Support.
Well, let's just see him again. It is, of course, old Paddy's Return who's doing the business there. And it's him who does all the problem. Look, here he goes. Paddy's Return runs into them. The leaders get away, quite luckily. But after that, you can see General Wolf. There's just nowhere to go, is there, Stu?
No, there's pop round on the outside there, but...
Feels Like Gold turns round, and
that was
you can see Village King scrambling over the fence.
That could have been very nasty.
It could, but I do reiterate, look at Norman's anguish there. All the horses are all right, but look at that, isn't that camaraderie? Helping hand, you'd say, wouldn't you?
It's nice to see that. And the concern for the horses as well. Look at that. No, that's superb, isn't it?
Well, this is our helmet cam. It must be on, I think it's on Village King, isn't it, this one? And he just sort of scrambles over it, doesn't it?
No, this Feels Like Gold's thing. Well, it's hard to tell from a lens, isn't it? But
well, there's Moral Support. He got stopped.
He got stopped.
Yes, coming back across St Valentine's, this is where, you know, the jockeys must have sensed what's happening now. As Richard Guest said, once you realise that you're so far up there, you know that there's a lot gone wrong. That was Mr. One unseated his rider there. Richard Johnson on the outside there, giving his horse a lovely ride. All the jockeys. Now that's Smarty, who eventually goes on and finishes second, of course. But Mick, these jockeys have been a great credit to the sport, haven't they? Not rushed. I didn't see a stick picked up once. Even Tony McCoy and Ruby Walsh on Papillon towards the end. They just sat and just allowed the horses to jump around.
We'll get back to that later. Let's concentrate on the action now. Edmund going under Johnson on the wide route, looking for ground. Beau, look at Llewellyn, seeing a long stride there and getting it.
That's right, as I said, they're just all trying to keep the horses nice and balanced, and there's one that
I think that's Tom Doyle on my intended rider, Esprit de Cop, telling him he's had enough.
It's mixed emotions, isn't it, Mick? You're pleased you haven't missed one, but you'd like to see your horse do well.
I would have liked to see him got round because Tom he'd done everything right until then.
Well, over this fence, they all complete nicely here, but we do lose Noble Lord, a really fancied horse at the 13th. Noble Lord, whose participation was in doubt this morning. They decided to run, but he got to the 13th.
I think, you know, we've spoken about it already, but I think the experience is definitely coming through with these jockeys here. Richard Johnson, who's ridden around here before now. Carl Llewellyn, I thought, was masterful on Beau, and I'm sure he'll be sitting at home tonight thinking what might have been as we see how the race progresses. Tony McCoy, he must have been chuffed to bits with how Blowing Wind was travelling, because the horse was really enjoying himself. And Timmy Murphy, he'd given Smarty an absolute peach, because the horse didn't really feel like he was at the races.
And as we'll see later, he must have thought he'd got it at one stage when Redmore Order made that mistake. But this is, as we say, hunt round the first circuit, play jockeys on the second. They're all saving. They know petrol is going to run out, Mick.
You've got a full circuit and a bit to go here. A long, long way to go, and the field has been depleted. So they know that they've still got to go and do all this again.
But what's happening to these riders and jockeys now? Your problems are multiplying, aren't you? It's not just the fences, it's not just the soft ground, it's the loose horses that, again, are beginning to cause the problems that are running about in front of you. From these wonderful shots here, we'll see the loose horses. As I said that, there's no... they've just come into picture on cue. As I've said, luckily for the jockeys here, they're out wide, but there Edmund is making a mistake on the inside, and that really blew his chance, I thought.
There goes Noble Lord.
Noble Lord, and he's gone there.
Well, now, Mick, jockeys know that they're going to come very shortly to the chair, and you do concentrate the mind now because it is the narrowest part of the course, and that makes the fence look bigger.
It certainly does, but you can see here they're just coming down to the last, I think it is, with a full circle to go. The loose horses have come back in here, and this, they know, is going to be their big concern, because you have to go right-handed now to go and jump the chair, and Carl and Tony McCoy and Timmy Murphy and Richard Johnson, they all can see these loose horses on their outside. There's only one way they can go, and that's left-handed, which means they're going to take them out of the race.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Not only have you got to get over the obstacle, you've got to worry about loose horse wiping you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's always, as you said, the chair, as you said, Richard, being so narrow is a big problem. Luckily, the horses have gone up the running there, but they must join the race again later to cause havoc again.
That was
Edmund
Edmund.
landed on top of the fence there, didn't he? Right on the inside under Richard Johnson. And we can have another look. Look at the right of your picture now. It's Richard Johnson on the right-hand side of the picture. Bo just taking his ground a little bit there. Look, just taking his sight line. So Bo jumps, takes the top out. But what does Edmund do? Oh,
He's actually,
you can't get away with that.
He's put down on him.
Yep.
Right on the stride where Richard wanted him to take off. He's actually put down. There goes Moon. I think that was Moon Dig with it.
Moon Digger, yeah. And Supreme Charm, he also gets rid of his jockey.
Tony Dobbin doing remarkably well to stay on this and Timmy down the inner.
I'm not sure, but I suppose I can just see out of another picture Richard smiling there. No, I mean, he's just galloped straight into the ditch. Isn't it funny? He'd made a mistake the fence before, and sometimes that can unnerve or unbalance the horse, and that horse has done exactly the same. That's number 29.
Well, he didn't take off, Skew.
Well, exactly the same as what Edmund did, yeah. Moondigo galloped straight into the ditch of it.
But I do want to tell you, all these horses are fine.
That's Supreme Charm.
Supreme Charm. Well,
nice little dismount.
now we get to the water jump, and by this stage you don't expect the field to be depleted to 7.
Bit of a joke, really, the water jump today, isn't it? They're all water jumps, aren't they? There's 36 water
That's
jumps.
a good line, Skew, for you. I'm very proud of you. There's old Brave Highlander popping over. You know, he does get round. He doesn't get round today, but he does love it round here. Now, Mick, at this stage, jockey feeling. You've got round one circuit. You now start to think, how much can I save?
Yeah, I'm sure now, Carl Llewellyn, the one thing that's going through his head here, he's thought, this horse has got as far as this. He's twigged how to get on and do this job. All I've now got to do is try and save energy.
Just watch Smarty there. Look, you can see Timmy Murphy's decided, I want some good ground, I'm going wide.
Yeah, but you can also see Carl on the inside. He's switched to the other side of the track because he knows there hasn't been that many horses have gone right down the inside here.
And also, you've gone your first circuit, haven't you? And as you said, the horse has learned now, or should have. But in fact, that silly old horse made a couple of mistakes now. But it's so... The soft ground makes it so unforgiving when you get to a fence. You know, sometimes on the good ground, you get 2 chances at a fence. Here, if you don't meet it spot on, exactly where you should take off, you've got no chance. And again, I feel with Bo, you know, he just made one mistake, and it unnerved him a bit, and your confidence goes.
I just want to alert people at home that this is running onto the second circuit now, and it is the 19th in a little while where the next interruptions are.
Yeah. Did you see him, Richard? Richard there, and Mick, he just came to that fence and he sort of half came up and ran. He was very clever, but it was unforgiving, and
look,
now he's lost his reins.
Have a look at this. Now that is amazing. He's trying to get the reins back over the horse's head. They look intact, but they're almost round his eye, aren't they?
Yeah, he's unlucky. If he'd had a little bit longer to a fence, he'd have got them back again, but he's back in the same position as he was before now and not being able to get his...
Carl,
and it's annoying the horse now, isn't it? And poor Carl, in a minute, has got nothing to hang on to.
But
now, the problems here, boys, we've got to watch out for. Papillon gets hampered and refused. Look, the loose horse goes right. Blowing Wind, Edmund is the loose horse, runs across. Blowing Wind got knocked off. We really want to look at that. I mean, there's trouble up front because Llewellyn's only got 1 rein. Now let's have a look at this. It's Papillon who gets hampered, Brave Highlander and Lance Armstrong in the green and white colours there. Well, you can't get away. It's the game loose horses.
Loose horses.
Yeah.
And it is a ditch too. You see, the ditch has made old Edmund say no thank
poor
you.
old Blowing Wind. I mean, he was very sensible, wasn't he, Blowing Wind? Tony McCoy has said, look, come on, we've got to get over this. And Blowing Wind said, look, we have got no chance.
In fact, Blowing Wind stopped 4 strikes before.
What was the horse that got over? Was it Smarty that got over?
Smarty got
yeah,
over.
because
he
now,
just missed the melee.
We are back to Cullen. What would you feel with only one rein? He's holding the breast girth there. Look, oh, you don't want that sort of thing.
It's difficult, isn't it? He's got no run at the fences. He's been trying to get his reins back, and he isn't balanced and going well at it.
Well, Llewellyn's idea of beautiful ground isn't mine.
No, I admire what he says, because some horses go on it. I know Richard Guest, said that horses made a few mistakes, but some do go on it, and they're entitled to race on it. And the point is that all the horses have come back safely. On the softer ground, they come back safely. That's the main thing. Guesty, we can have a look at the make of the sole of his boots, I think, there. But no, all credit to Guesty. This is horsemanship, isn't it? He's kept the horse's head off the floor.
Yeah. Now, Mick, how would jockeys feel? You haven't been in the situation, but how would they feel just two of them and going to Beeches and just two left in the race?
Well, I think you'd be quite pleased, because it means that you've got a 50-50 chance of winning. You can see here the biggest problem on this ground is the fact that the national fences ride so well when you get into a rhythm and you keep that momentum up. But suddenly on this bottomless ground, you don't really have rhythm, because you've got to meet everything and you're absolutely spot on.
Let's have a look at Beeches from the landing side. Smarty, you'll know, just watch him nod a bit. Look, that is typical landing over Beeches. But Timmy slipped the reins, sat back, safe. I tell you what I must say just at this stage now, because there will be newspaper journalists who say, should they race? In my opinion, they were right to race. No horses have been hurt. They hurt themselves less on soft ground.
Of course they do, and at the end of the day, you had a fence like the Canal turn wiping out 10 horses. So who's to say that there wouldn't have been 12 horses in the race at this point if those other 10 hadn't been hampered and stopped?
Absolutely. Well, you can see Red Marauder absolutely cantering. Guesty was second in his first ever ride on Romney King in '92. He fell on the same horse in '94, 5th and 15th after that. And then he fell at Beeches, and this one fell at the 6th last year.
Here the Canal turn now, you can see they were lucky again to get it. I mean, that is just inches, wasn't it? You know, fractions. If Guesty hadn't made a mistake at the fence before, he'd have been wiped out by the loose horse there.
Hard to see how he can breathe. He's pulled his goggles down. They're over his mouth at this stage.
But look at this horse here. He's got his ears pricked and he's looking for the next obstacle. You can see this, and Guesty's looking for the stride. And the horse has said, right, away we go.
You told me to shut up earlier, but am I allowed to say it now? That
yes.
What a wonderful ride these jockeys have given these horses.
Fantastic.
You know, they're nursing them, and as I say, the horse is loving it. He's got his ears pricked.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an athlete. This is what he wants to do. I mean, the only problem with Guesty along here is now and again, he's not quite sure, and I don't blame him. You know, he wants to give the horse a kick, but he's a bit worried too, because if he gives him a kick and he doesn't come up, he looks a prat. And if he doesn't give it a kick, the old horse is loving it so much, he's picking up anyway. And I think this is what happens at this fence now, you know, because the ground is so unsure underneath you, you haven't got a great deal of confidence in the surface. Let's just watch him. But as I say, he loves it, doesn't he? Look at him. There we go. Then see, the guest is half gone for it. No, and he didn't know what to do, did he? You know,
no, but at the same time, he's also given the horse the option of coming.
That's right. When we're saying there is no options there, isn't it? That's,
exactly.
You know, it's brilliant.
I asked you boys earlier, would they have been talking? You said, not on your life.
Well, that's what you said. What would the jockeys think when there's two of them? I tell you what, your concentration would have been one. This is your chance in a lifetime. You're going into the history books. There's a horse galloping.
Smarty, a big jump there. Imagine what Mark Pittman was thinking. His first ever runner as a trainer. He's been second in the race as a jockey.
Left on his own, and Guesty can have a little bit of a breather.
Smarty is emptied. The tank has all of a sudden emptied, hasn't it?
Yeah, I would think the feelings that Timmy Murphy has at this moment when he's riding in the race were absolute dread, because you think you've got it and suddenly it's taken away from you.
Is that a smile on Guesty's face?
No, that's a grimace, I think. But what makes me smile, I mean, Guesty is amongst the coolest in the weighing room. But in a minute here, you can even see him, you know, just
the panic
just have
setting in.
Yeah, just a little push button, because with two around you, he must realise that you know, that, as I say, there's only two, but you're half not sure if you've missed one, aren't you? You know, you think, if I'm sat here going to the last and there's some prat set up behind me cantering, what an idiot you'll look, you know. But and again, Guesty's going here to the last here, and he's just sort of looking for the stride there, and he's actually got the confidence
He went
to
for
go.
a big one.
He went for a big one.
But he saw it and he said, right. But the thing is, when you're racing down to a fence like that, you realise that, hold on a minute, I've got all the time in the world, I'm 20 lengths clear, and this is the Grand National. All I've got to do is get over this, not do a Devon lock, and we've collected a prize.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Quite incredible. But you know, this horse is by Gunner B, who's had several winners this year. He's British bred through and through. Shade Oak stud, Mrs. David Jenks bred him. Isn't it marvellous that we can hold our own? You know,
Definitely, but the Gunner Bees do like the soft.
And that stallion is 28 years of age now, and he's just got a Grand National winner. Now, what a feeling this is, with only 200 yards to go. The horse is coming backwards under Guesty, but he's looking. He said he didn't think he was stylish. That's all right in a tired horse.
I tell you, I wouldn't mind, well, swinging both legs one side and then back the other way. If I could win the National, it wouldn't matter.
Well, you know the feeling.
You know, the best orders in national hunt racing are to keep a leg each side. It doesn't matter what you look like, and that's what he's done. And the other sporting moments, I thought, was the huge cheer that the crowd gave him, despite all them losing a lot of money on the horses.
Now, look how he asked for a big one. It's quite low there on the inside, Mick.
It is, but when you're coming down to the last after 4 and a bit miles, you're quite pleased to see it low.
And doesn't that show the length of the run-in? Look how far the stands are.
I would think for Guesty it would feel like an eternity, and knowing Guesty like I do, he'd have been wanting to celebrate this triumph, but he couldn't, because he's still thinking to himself, I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, and this is the National.
That's right, it's that uncertainty.
It is.
Are you sure
Yeah.
there's only two standing?
You suddenly think that somebody's going to come out and say to you, I'm sorry, but you know, that it doesn't count.
or you've missed one, you know.
Yeah,
Somebody's
exactly.
going to hiding behind the chair to come and get you, you know.
Oh, you're a cuckoo lad, you
But
boys,
it is a feeling, I'm telling you, that you just cannot begin to believe. And I know Timmy Murphy, he'll feel gutted. Everybody, he should be so pleased that he's finished second. He's given the horse a fantastic ride. But at the end of the day, second means nothing.
Look at the mud.
The winners, everybody remembers winners, and Guesty is on his own.
Or these were the only 4 that finished. The 3rd and 4th remounted. So Red Marauder, the winner, at 33 to 1, paying similar money on the tote. Smarty was second at 16 to 1, putting in a bold show there. Blowing Wind, who was really hampered and got rid of McCoy at the 19th, remounted to finish 3rd at 16 to 1, but you'll get paid out nevertheless. And 4th you'll get paid out to Papillon, last year's hero, on ground he didn't like again, knocked out of the race at the 19th, but came back in to finish 4th at 14 to 1. There were only two that went at the first, and they, of course, were Spanish Main and Art Prince. Then we get to the second fence, Tresor de Mai, Hanikan, Ginger McCain's, and Addington Boy fell. We move on to fence 3, the Big Ditch, Hollybank Buck, Cucky Crazy, and Paddy's Return. Paddy's Return, the one who did all the damage a little later on in the race. Now, fence 4, which is a pretty easy fence after that 3rd ditch, Earth Mover and Inniscara, 2 very fancied horses, exited. At Beecher's Brook, first time, Merry People fell. Last Fling went. Strong Tell fell. Northern Starlight unseated. Tom Scudamore, he might dispute that tomorrow, of course. Exit Swinger only got there. He fell too. Now, at the Canal turn, this was where all the trouble was caused by Paddy's Return. General Wolfe unseated. Jeddah brought down. Moral Support refused. You couldn't blame him for that. Melly Moss brought down. Dark Stranger, You're a Good 'Un, and Village King. They just had nowhere to go. Now we had Feels Like Gold was brought down, and Valentine's Mr. One unseated his rider. Fence 11, Esprit de Cotte fell. A Noble Lord went independently at 17. The chair saw Amberley House unseat his rider, I think fell, probably right, yes. Edmund and Moondigger and Supreme Charm, they all went. The water jump, listen, Timmy unseated his rider, that's a rarity. And No Retreat, well, he pulled up, having been rather mulish at the start. Now, at fence 19, this was the open ditch, Lance Armstrong refused, so did Brave Highlander, and that was the fence where they knocked out Papillon and, of course, Peter Deal's horse, Blowing Wind, who ran on to be third. Now, Beau unseated his rider, pretty unfair, though he had no reins at the time, and Carl Llewellyn had no choice but to exit right-handed stage. Unsinkable Boxer went at the same fence.